All right, howdy, folks. Today, what I want to do is take a look at the state of football gaming in 2023. I've made several videos about Madden and how there's only basically one AAA football game, and that's still the case. That's been the case for a long time. But over the past several years, there have been uh, more and more independent football games of different kinds, and I wanted to take a look at pretty much every football game you can get your hands on if you have a PC and if you have Steam. So I have Steam opened here, and my search was just American football. So this should pull up everything that's associated with American football in some way or another. And some of these games will be older, some of them will be newer, but I wanted to get an overarching view of pretty much every football game on the market right now. So the first one that we see is LCD Sports American Football. This looks like it's a classic handheld football game. Basically, it looks like it's electronic football. If you're a little bit older, you probably know what this is. It's basically just a digital version of the handheld game. It is football, I guess. It's not anything that people who are looking for football games would probably be interested in.
Control the plays. Watch out, here comes the defense. You throw, you miss, you throw again.
So very, very retro.
Your touchdown is recorded on an
That
LCD.
is $1.99.
Sports American Football, now on Steam.
So that's enough of that. This looks like it's some DLC for some other game. We have Football Simulator here. Now this one's a big one. This one is probably not developed by one person. It's not a solo developer, I wouldn't think. If it is, that's impressive, but if not, that's still impressive. This is a very physics-based, very goofy kind of gameplay. But out of all the games that want to be sort of a stick skills football game, Football Simulator, I think, started off the best. What I mean by that is their gameplay model seems to be pretty good. It's got very positive reviews. Their gameplay model seems to be pretty good, and there's a lot of other things you can do, like walk around with the coach and different things like that. And so visually, it's also pretty good looking. If you compare Football Simulator to a game like Canadian Football or Access Football or later Maximum Football, the visual fidelity of this game is a lot higher than those. So it has a very unique kind of visual appearance, and it has physics and big hits. So it's kind of at least right now, it plays a lot like an arcade style game. So this is one of the, well, I think it's one of the top independent football games right now. Football Simulator. I think it has pretty good potential, and it's showing a decent amount of positive reception. Some people think it's unplayable in its current state, and I can see why. It's probably very buggy and whatnot. So positive reviews, a couple negatives, saying that they want to like the game. So the hits, I think, are what is attractive about this game. The hits and the physics, and sort of the overall kind of goofiness. But, with a couple more years of development, who knows where this game could go. So that's a good one right there. It is early access and it's $20. Next game on our list is, this is a newer one as well. This is Football Coach College Dynasty. So this is kind of the first in this list of games that are management style games. So you can see there's play selection. There's no on-field gameplay, of course. It's got recruiting. You can schedule visits. So it's a very UI heavy kind of game. And so it's got a bunch of stats and ratings. And there are player avatars. They're obviously not on the level of a football game, but you know, they are player avatars. And so this is a true college football management game. Play as coach or school, recruit players, develop your team, and compete for national championships. Build a dynasty and become a coaching legend. It's also an early access game. Very positive reviews. And this game would appeal to the people that like not so much management games, but dynasty games. There's a difference between management and dynasty. They kind of overlap a little bit. But the people that like dynasty and franchise, they like to develop the players, they want to see the player stories, and they want to build the team. They want to build the team properties and the rosters and all that kind of stuff. And so this is a newer game, so it probably has... It'd be interesting to see where this guy would take it. Now, this isn't the only game that's like this, but it's one of the newer ones, so you know there's active development. As it is, it's very bare bones. You can see there's no logos or anything like that. So heading back, the next game is Mutant League Football, or Mutant Football League. And we'll just say we were born in 1986. How about that? So this is more of a middle market kind of game. It's not exactly indie, because there's probably a handful of developers, or they probably have a few people, but it's got a kind of a cool style. It's called EVLSN. Evil SN is a sports network. So you play as these monsters. There's a lot of violence and outrageousness.
Bruiser bots, mutated humans, and criminal aliens. And these guys can unleash some serious carnage on the gridiron. Unlike other games, this one has maximum mayhem.
So...
Oh, he rocked him like a hurricane.
So I'm not sure, but whoever's voicing over right now sounds like the voice actor from like NBA Showtime. I don't know if it's true, but it kind of sounds like him. It's a very over-the-top game. A lot of action. It apparently does have a franchise mode, which is kind of cool. So if you're tired of just pure sim football and you want something a little different, this would be a decent option for you. So the gameplay is obviously very different than football. Pretty violent, you know, kind of over the top. A little similar to like a Blood Bowl concept. But if you're a fan of Mutant League Football on the Genesis, This is, I guess it's a spiritual successor to it. So it's a fairly polished game. It's not going to be like not going to be super buggy, and it's got very positive reviews. You can see a lot of blue. So this guy has some issues with the Dynasty mode. And it is, the Dynasty DLC is free. So it's $14.99, 15 bucks. There's Mutant Football League. Now there's Madden NFL. You guys know how I feel about that. Here is another game called Football Legend. That one's coming out sometime this year. This is another management game. Take over a professional American football team in this single-player football management simulator. As both general manager and head coach, build a football dynasty that will last for decades to come. Trade, draft, sign free agents, and coach your way into the Hall of Fame. So this is coming out in 2023, and it's developed and published by Beefware. So you can create your playbook, personnel packages, apply franchise tags, prevent your best players from leaving, extensive player ratings, realistic player rating system, all-star game. So it's another management style game. It's very UI heavy, and the UI, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's serviceable. It's also not very interesting looking, but it looks like this is going to be their first iteration, so they might improve on all that kind of stuff. There's no logos either. I will say that there are a number of these management style games. Some are better than others, but I think that these are probably the least commercially appealing, simply because they're very UI heavy, and a lot of the times the UI is kind of boring looking. It's not very engaging. It's serviceable and it works, but it would take someone that really likes crunching the numbers to get into this. But that said, you know, if you're making one of these games, by all means, please make it. The more games we have, the better. So their planned release date is 2023. It's basically just a management game. So here's Axis Football. Now, Axis Football has been around since 2015, and it's been the longest lasting independent football game. And they've been the most consistent. They've improved every single year. And while, you know, some of the visuals may not be as appealing as some other games, they do have an interesting franchise model with the tier system. So basically, if there, I think there's 3 divisions basically to the professional league that they have. And so you have the bottom tier, the middle tier, and the top tier. Basically, the extremes of those tiers switch places. So if you're in tier 3, you can move up to tier 2. If you're in tier 2 and you lose a lot, you go down to tier 3. And then, so it's this cool dynamic league setup that they have. And they're putting a lot of time into the franchise mode. That's kind of the strength of the game. But that said, the on-field gameplay isn't horrible, and it's gotten better over the years. And I think that, I mean, looking at their consistency, I mean, if they release 2 more titles, they would have released 10 titles. Almost 10 years. Almost 10 years of development. Now, it is a little bit worrying that they're, what, 8 titles in, and this is about where they've gotten. And that's not to diminish at all the work that they've done. But I think if they do a little bit more in the on-field department, it would be more appealing to people. Despite the fact that they've improved a lot on-field as it is. So, Axis Football is 20 bucks. And has been probably, I would say, if they're not the pioneer, they're one of the pioneers of the indie football scene. I remember Axis 15 way back. And it happens to be right there. So they started in 2015 and they're still going strong in 2022. And there's no sign of them stopping. So there's Axis Football. Pure Football 2018. This is an American football simulator where you play GM, coach, and player. Play through endless seasons as you master player contracts, assembling your coaching staff, free agency, and the draft. Lead your players come game time or use the advanced game simulation system. So this is a Leatherheads kind of game. This is going to be like 1930s, 20s, 40s-ish. And so it's like it's a team manager game, but sort of vintage football. The UI is kind of appropriate. It looks, got the old chalkboards and old parchment look. Modern football set in the 1930s. So this was released in 2018, and that's all they've done. I'll support the developers just to stick it to EA. So here's someone going on about exclusive rights and capitalism. This game's not worth 15 bucks. It's bare bones, proof of concept. Yeah, so it's from 2018 and it's been there ever since. So while not a complete game necessarily, it is a football game that plays remotely like a football game. For 15 bucks. That's Pure Football 2018. Here's another Axis Football. There's another one. Football Heroes Turbo. Now here's an interesting one. Because they chose to do something a little bit different. So you fight your way to the end zone using skill, strategy, and super moves to smash the competition. Collect and upgrade hundreds of unique players to build the ultimate football team. Get online and experience the most action-packed football game in the universe. So if you like a lot of visual flair, and this almost looks like a 2D side view version of Blitz. So this is a little bit in the vein of of like Mutant Football League, but sticking closer to football and not, cutting monsters to pieces. You can see there's like power-ups, or abilities, I mean. A lot of visuals. Player cards. Yeah. Special powers. So very creative. Very creative. Definitely different, but still sticking closer to football than something like Mutant League Football or Blood Bowl or anything that's a little too fantasy. So that is Football Heroes Turbo. It's developed and published by Run Games. It only has 16 reviews. Not every buyer leaves a review, of course. So this might be a port or a desktop version of an Android game. Yeah, so it looks like this might have started out as a mobile game. So it is early access still, even though it's several years old, and it's $15. Next game on the list is Canadian Football 2017. So, this was Canuck Play. These are the guys that made Maximum Football, or at least the main guy, Dave Winter, I think. Dave Winter he's out of the football gaming business for good, it seems like. Apparently he went on to become an engineer or something. So we wish him the best of luck, and we do thank him for whatever contributions he made to football gaming. This game was a little rough. I mean, he did make this on his own for the most part. And it's at least an honest attempt at a stick skills football game. One of the problems of making a stick skills football game, especially one by yourself, and especially a 3D one in today's world, is that you immediately get compared to Madden. But while this game did have a lot of problems, again, it's still nice to see that this game was developed and that people were trying to make games. The engine that was Canadian Football 2017 eventually became Maximum Football. And the interesting thing about Maximum Football, well, I'll get into that once we find Maximum Football. Here's Axis 18. So here's a little bit of an obscure one. We got Front Office Football 8. Looks like there's probably a few of these front office games. 7 and 8 are on Steam. I guess there's other ones elsewhere. So it says, put yourself in the front office with Front Office Football, the professional football simulation from Soul Seismic Software. Manage your roster through trading, free agency, and the amateur draft. Create game plans, organize depth charts, and watch your franchise thrive for decades. So it's another management game. The UI is a little bit more dense than some of the other ones we've seen. This to me is a little bit too much text. But again, it's serviceable, you know.
Publish the next two versions of the game.
If your dream is to go through menus and, you know, manage players and numbers and stuff, then this might be a game that you like. It's got very positive reviews. 250. So a lot of these people are here for the management aspect of football, which is important to keep in mind. This game is 30 bucks. A little steep for an indie game, especially one that's just menus. But it seems to have been received pretty well. There's Access 21, there's Access 19. Here's Pro Strategy Football 2023.
Tired of buying football games? Is that like what you want?
So this is another management game that has
check on the entire league's progress. New animations with assignable skin tones. The option to remove
a little bit loud there.
no sleeves, short sleeves, long sleeves.
So it has an actual on-field simulation engine. It's probably not super robust, but it's still cool that there is an on-field simulation engine. Some of the things that hold these management games back is that they're only attractive to people that like the pure management games. Having an on-field component like this, even if it's not that great, as long as it kind of works and it animates the stuff that's being simulated under the hood, I think it would be more attractive to people because it's a little bit closer to playing, you know, a stick skills game like Tecmo Super Bowl or something like that. Now, you don't control the players here, of course, but you do manage everything else. So again, the UI not great in these management games so far. This kind of stock image of a football player looks like it's the background of a gambling site. It's just not very stylized. It's not very unique. But again, the UI does function, so that's important. But I think the cool thing about this game is that they have the player sprites, and there's a little bit of customization with the colors. So this is the first management game that we've seen that actually has on-field simulation, or at least on-field animation. So that is, if I can get out of here, that is Pro Strategy Football 2023. It's got positive reviews out of 49 and developed by Carrie Baltus and published by Pro Strategy Games. And it looks like this individual has made 4 of these Pro Strategy Football games. So looks like they are actively developing this game. And the most current one is 20 bucks. Next game is Access 20. Access has the most games. Let's just get that out of the way. Okay, so here's an interesting one, Bowl-Bound College Football. It's basically kind of like Football Coach College Dynasty. It is definitely older. It's from 2015. It's got mixed reviews, and it's 20 bucks. This is another management game, but for college football. Now, I will say this user interface is definitely better than a lot of the other ones. It might be still a little bit dense, but it might just be because I don't know exactly what I'm looking at because I haven't really played this game. I actually do own this game, But I mostly owned it just to see, to get some inspiration for other things. So I do like that they have the helmets, even if they don't have logos, they have the colored helmets, which helps. Got the team names. Got a little bit of a stylized menu system, which is cool. Again, a little bit more dense than I would like, but it's not that bad. Out of all the management games that we've seen so far, I think this one has the best UI. So one of the best college football simulation engines available. Ball-bound college football is a simulation game college football fans have been waiting for. This one came out in 2015, developed by Grey Dog Software, published by Viva Meta. And it looks like they have a few. Yeah, they're all management games. Got wrestling, MMA, comic book hero. Kind of interesting. Another wrestling game. So 3 wrestling games, MMA, college football, and comic book heroes. So if you like college football, you might have, this might bring some kind of value to you. It is $20, and seems like the positive to negative ratio is about 50%. Next game is another front office football, which we already saw. So here's Cyber League football. This is a spiritual successor to, I forgot what it's called, Cyberball or something. It's basically robots playing football. This is a solo developer game. I think the developer is Sean Wignall, I think, if that's his name. So it's a very simple game. It's not very complex. It's got a very simple season mode where you upgrade. I think you upgrade by position, and you get money as you win games, I assume. And very simple play selection. And the gameplay, I think, is stick skills. So you do move the players around. Iceberg Games. No price on that so far because there's no release date yet. Here is Australian football, different sport, another pro strategy. Okay, so this one's a little bit interesting. This is football history. So if you're deep in the indie football scene, then you might recognize this. This is Cal Anderson's football project. It's not really a game. It was intended to be a game, but a lot of drama with that. I won't get into it. The Football History Simulator provides play creation for football coaches. It can be customized to accommodate the user's branding from team uniforms to stadium field markings. So I don't know if you control the players or if it's just all simulated. Now it's obviously not really a game. It was intended to be. Interestingly enough, they do have the HBCU licenses, so the like Alcorn and Alabama A&M and all those kind of colleges are in the game, or the whatever this is, the simulator. Obviously pretty rough, not really a playable game. Maybe if you're just looking to simulate plays, this might provide some value to you. It does have uniform editor, I think. Logos, jerseys, all that stuff. Um, it is $40, and that is very steep price for not much. I do want to give credit to Java Prince and Cal Anderson for actually releasing something, but this is not really a game necessarily. So maybe he will do something with that in the future. I don't know. Another pro strategy. Here is a VR game. I'm not a fan of the VR games. 2MD VR Football Evolution is a room-scale, 2-minute drill VR arcade experience where players take on the role of soulless automaton, tasked with capturing victory in the final minutes of a game. Draw the plays, call the shots, and throw the ball to take down opponents before the clock runs out or else. So this is kind of an interesting robot football kind of game, I guess. So you throw it. So as far as VR football games or experiences are concerned, so this one seems to be pretty complete. You can make your own plays and change your colors and all that stuff, which is kind of cool. So if you happen to be in the VR football thing, there is this game, and it's $13. Published and developed by Truant Pixel. It looks like they have a couple different projects. So this one is the latest version. So VR Football Evolution. So started out with tackle dummies, I guess. Yeah, I started out with tackle dummies, and then moved up to robots. And then this is the most recent version that has actual players. So motion controlled VR football game, draw the plays, throw, handoff. This is a interesting thing because they have the actual players instead of just robots. So if you happen to be into first-person kind of football simulation, this might be interesting to you. Seems to be pretty functional, considering they've had a couple different iterations to get it right. If they continue development, this might turn into something more attractive to people. Obviously, you need to have a whole VR system to run this, but it is a football game. It's got real players or human players, which is cool. It's got positive reviews out of 17. So it's got kind of a higher polygon blitz kind of look to it. So visually, this game doesn't look bad. It's got kind of a unique style to it, which is cool. Me personally, I'm not into VR games. One, because I don't own a VR system, but also it's just not really what I'm attracted to. But it seems to be like an ongoing developing football project, which is cool. So there is 2MD VR footballs, $15. Okay, so this is kind of funny. So this is Jerry Rice and Nitus dog football. I don't know exactly why this was made. This came out in 2011. I don't know if this was like a...
This is Jerry Rice and my dog Nitus. We're here to talk about our video game, Jerry Rice and Nitus Dog Football. I am so proud of our team at Judo Baby for the high quality football that they have put into this game and for creating a fun experience for the whole family and their pets.
So this is just a very strange combination of elements. So it's football, pets, and Jerry Rice. It's highly stylized, you know. The football fields have terrain, it's not flat. You got pissing animals.
Bring some smiles and tail wagging. Then let me show you a few tricks.
And then there's Rice.
Come from pros like Nitus and me.
So the dogs are the players, apparently. It looks like a PlayStation 2 type game.
I think this is the most fun you will have this football.
It came out on the Wii.
You and your dog will get a workout trying to win.
A Wii, so this is a Wii port, I guess.
Good luck and grab this game as quick as you can. We'll be looking for you. Let's work it, dog.
Alright, so Hall of Fame wide receiver Jerry Rice and his dog Nitus hit the canine gridiron for some family-friendly 7-on-7 action. Sports just aren't for humans anymore. The dogs have turned pro as they compete alongside their owners for the coveted Golden Hydrant.
What's up, guys? I'm here with my good buddy Scott from Judo Baby.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, and he's going to show us this brand new game. It's called Jerry Rice and Nitus' Dog Football.
Basically, it's a football game played by a team full of dogs with a human quarterback because, you know, dogs can't pass yet. What we've set out to do is make a fun, family-friendly, humorous title that would bring families together to play together. Something with simple gameplay, cute dogs, something that would bring people in. We have Jerry Rice. He's a quarterback in the game. He's the commissioner of the Pet Sports League, which is the league that runs
Pet
the
Sports
dog football
League.
That's not the same as my...
Like barks, throw and release. Of things and score 20 or 30 points. And hey, where's my pink one? We have
This was a Wii exclusive up until this port. It's only $3. It's got positive reviews out of 31. The first one says my wife left me. Got 5 hours on record. 4.8 at review time. So apparently this is a very fun game. This one was played for 30 minutes. 20 hours. Dear Lord, says this one. So, kind of an odd concept. Sneak peek. What is this? That's not what I'm looking for. Wonder what that is. This looks like a Stegopoodle. I don't know if they're planning on releasing another one of these titles sometime soon. Who knows? Or if it's already been out. I don't know. So there's Jerry Rice and Nitus Dog Football. Not really an indie football game, but it is a sort of football adjacent, I guess. So here's Football Mogul 18. This is one of those management games. It's got mostly negative reviews. It was released in 2017.
Call plays and manage your squad. Gameplay allows for much more than just running a franchise, though.
So this is another game that doesn't have on-field animation. It's just a simulation engine.
The franchise is run via its powerful simulation engine, which can even be used to gain beneficial information for fantasy sports usage. The game allows you to simulate the current season as many times as you'd like.
So another weakness is, of course, the user interface. It's not very stylized or unique. It is functional though. It's the 16th version of the addictive football simulation game from the makers of Baseball Mogul. This version includes rosters and player ratings for opening weekend of the 2017-2018 season. It looks like they probably have one for every sport. They got baseball, it's basically just baseball and football. So another management game. Management games seem to be a little bit simpler to make because they're text-based, and they're not going to require a lot of knowledge on animation and artificial intelligence. It's mostly just making the UIs and developing the simulation systems. What's next? That is soccer. That's Australian football. So this is Desktop Dynastys. This one was made by the same person that made Cyber League, which we saw earlier. This is sort of a tabletop inspired football game. You can see they're playing on a table, and the players have bases. And there's Dynasty, of course. Very simple concept. It's definitely someone's first iteration. Golden crest. So the UI is obviously very dense. Not too unique in as far as style. This is more of a, well, it's an older game. I don't think it's going to get any more versions. But you can get it for $1. Alright, so here's Maximum Football. This is by Connect Play, right? This is, what, 2020 version? I think they had a 2019. Version, and then I guess they got 2 more versions in with Maximum Football. This one was it had interesting features, right? It had a team, it had a logo creator, it had uniform editors, but it had a lot of customization. It had a play designer. It had a college dynasty, and I believe it has a professional franchise mode as well. So this one was really marketed as a college football game. Unlicensed, of course. But the gameplay is, of course, what set it back. The gameplay, this is definitely better. They definitely made progress and they had some internal issues, but it was definitely a serviceable game, but it was at the same time, again, this is an independent football game, right? And it's going to be judged by AAA standards, and that's always a problem with being in the football gaming sphere, is that you get compared to, you get unfair comparisons to the developers that have the most money, and that's a big problem. It is the responsibility of the developer to make a product that is desirable to the buyers, but at the same time, I'm not convinced that football gaming, that the average football gamer actually knows like how the indie game scene works. But at the same time, football games are harder to make, so it's nuanced. It's a little bit confusing. Here is Draft Day Sports College Football 2022. Here's another management game by Wolverine Studios. I believe they have a couple different sports as well. Texas Steers. So this one has better UI than some of the other ones. Still a little lackluster. It's not very visually engaging. It's just looking at spreadsheets. The player avatars are pretty cool. Looks like they have a decent simulation engine. Got mixed reviews. It came out last year. The Georgia Dogs. I'm surprised they were brave enough to use the word Georgia and dog together. So some of the names they used the exact names of the college, and some of them they changed. Like Penn State's obviously a real name. Michigan State. West Lafayette is not a real name. That's supposed to be the Purdue team. So I guess I'm not sure how that works, but logos are pretty poor. But I guess at least they have logos, you know. If you like a management game that one might work for you, that is $25. So here's Pro Strategy, Draft Day. So this is, yeah, so here is another game by Wolverine. Basically the same as the college one, just set in a pro setting at the Miami Palms. Green Bay Cheese. It's basically just the pro version of the college. Got a couple more versions of those. This one's a little bit newer. Goblin Rules Football. It's basically like a 2D version of like Blood Bowl. Kind of a Mutant League style game. Kind of it's fantasy style football. They got goblins and other creatures, I assume. And you just beat each other up, score points. And there's field hazards, just like in the old Genesis Mutant League football game. That's got 6 user reviews, all of which are positive. That one is that's $3. Huh. That's kind of funny. The DLC is just support the devs. Support the devs DLC. It's $1. Support the devs, even more DLC, $2. So Glacial Lake Studios. Have they made anything else? Stocks. I don't know what that is. Alright, next game is Front Page Sports Football. Another management game. This one got very negative reviews back in 2014. Create your team. Pick your colors, kind of cool. Game plans. This one does have a 3D simulation engine. Surprised they were able to do that. It got very negative reviews back in 2014. Cyanide Studio. Apparently they made Blood Bowl. This is a studio, an entire studio that made Blood Bowl. Okay, that's interesting. This is more of a middle market kind of game. I was a big fan of this game way back in the day. It has not stood the test of time. This guy says it's horribly flawed, very disappointing at the moment, not what fans of American football management were looking for. There are a myriad of faults, including but not limited to poor 3D engine, lack of customization, strange CDTs, incorrect rules of the game, 4-yard penalties for offside infractions, windowed game within a full screen. So, seems like most people don't like it, even though it does have a 3D simulation engine. It is $10. So this game is interesting. It's action card football. This came out in 2019. This game kind of takes football to a different level. It makes it more of a card game. And for the game that I'm making, I was thinking of something remotely similar to this. So it bases everything off of cards, basically. So we can get some screenshots. So this is I don't know what this means exactly. Maybe I guess that's your formation, and there's a percentage of outcome for each card, basically. And this looks like is this a player card, I think? Kind of boosts stats a little bit. Or player ability, maybe. This is a very interesting concept. I've seen football card games before. I actually have one. I actually have a football card game right here. And it's not very good. This is Gridiron Football. It's not very interesting. All it is, it's basically random. So you basically call a play, and all the cards in the deck have a random outcome basically for the play that you call, and that's how you move around the field. So there's no real skill because you don't know what's going to happen. But something like this, where it's closer to more of a modern or more of a better trading card game, got stats and abilities, which is pretty cool. So I'd like to see games a little bit more like this. This is more within the range of indie football developers because, look, if you're not skilled in animation and artificial intelligence and all these different things that AAA studios have to be very good at, it doesn't mean you can't make a game. It just means that you have to find ways to circumvent that. What you have to do is, if you like making game systems, make those game systems. Find ways to develop games that don't make you have to make a worse version of Madden or a worse version of that style of game. There's a lot of room, tons of unexplored areas in football gaming that we just don't know because people just want to play Madden, or because no one else is making games that are widely available or popular. So concepts like these I think are very interesting. This was released in 2019 by Astral Pastimes, published by Image Space Incorporated, and it's $5. What else do we have? Let's see. Draft Day, Mutant League. Where did action? Oh, action card. Okay, so we were there. Guess that's more DLC for Mutant Football League. The New York threats. That's funny. The names in the Mutant Football League style games are hilarious. Here is Pro ERA. The Terror Bay Mutineers. Those are great names. Oh, this is a Lamar Jackson thing. Lead your team to Super Bowl, improve your QB skills by doing drills, play catch. So this isn't really indie. It is a football product. Looks like they do have the NFL license. Again, not really something that I really care for. I have no interest in playing these style of games. But if you like VR, this is something. This is what, $30? Mostly positive out of 72 reviews. Here's Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl, I believe, is a It's another fantasy style game. And it is, I believe it's turn-based. Yeah, it's turn-based. Kind of fantasy style football. It is, well, right now, as of January 29th, it is $3. So, here's another Madden. So here's Legend Bowl. I'm sure you guys know about Legend Bowl. Legend Bowl, I think, is part of the few games that's basically one of the pioneers of viable indie football titles. This one is, I think, has a lot of commercial appeal. It is a fairly polished game. It's a complete game. A lot of time has been put into it, a lot of care. King Havo, the developer, is very passionate about this, and he put a lot of time into it, and it's definitely one of the flagship games in the indie football scene right now. And it's $25. So if you like retro football games, if you just like football games in general, this one might be a good one to try if you haven't already. So Legend Bowl is up there with Legend Bowl, Football Simulator, and I think Sunday Rivals, which is the next one. Are kind of the trifecta right now of most viable indie football games, with most commercial appeal, the ones that look the most polished as well. This is just an arcade style game. It's low poly. It's visually polished. It doesn't look incomplete or anything. Very simple gameplay. But people do like it. Some of the comments, some of the reviews say that they've found several exploits that kind of break the game. So, the thing about these games is that you really have to test every single play that's in the game, because you never know how it's going to turn out. It's $20, and I think Sunday Rivals is one of the top indie football games currently available. Gridiron Solitaire. This one actually came out in 2014. And it's basically it's a football kind of dynasty season game where you score by playing solitaire, which is kind of interesting. So I guess the more you play solitaire, the more you move the ball, more points you score. Kind of cool. Very unique concept. And it's an interesting way to... This is what I mean. If you can't make on-field gameplay, don't. Don't try, because then people are just going to tear you down. And the UI seems to be fairly consistent, fairly clean, which I like. Stadiums are a bit weird. Maybe I guess because it's top view, looks a little off. And I mean, yeah, the interesting solitaire style game play. It's a unique concept for sure. You have to improve your team, buy players. So it's a whole franchise mode. That's kind of cool. Oh yeah, that's cool. I like that. It's a very unique way, very cool way to have your season progress, and you can um, kind of look back and see all your stats and your different players and all that kind of stuff. This is definitely what I was going for my football game, is to be able to look back at all of your seasons and to have some level of detail for each one. That way you can kind of, reminisce, look back, and show people your stats and stuff. This is a very cool way to store that information. Got some change your stadium, team colors. Very, very interesting concept. And it's $8. Again, Gridiron Solitaire along with Action Card Football. They take their limitations and they make something different with it, which is what I think more limited developers should do. Soccer. Here's Gridiron. It's a sci-fi style arcade football. I believe it's made for multiplayer, where each player controls, or each user controls a player. So it's another sci-fi fantasy style football game with like fantasy style stadiums. And you kind of use different powers and stuff to play the game. Currently no user reviews, early access. It is a bit strange, but it is a unique concept. I probably wouldn't find myself playing this game, but if you like Blood Bowl and Mutant League and all that kind of stuff, this might be up your alley, and it's only available by request. Rugby. We get into the bottom of the list finally. Here's another VR thing. This is just a passing thing, where you catch and then you pass. Not a whole lot to see here. If you just can't get enough of ball physics, and there's that. It's $5. Let's see, anything else? Horse racing. The DFL. DFL is not really a football game, it's just an endless runner with football assets. Even though you do kind of build your stats. So it's football adjacent, I guess. Not really something a football gamer would want to play. It's $1. Greats of the Gridiron. Here's another management game. This came out last year. 2 user reviews. got a top-down simulation engine. Interesting player avatars. It does have a franchise mode, and it has decent looking team logos. So you gotta design your plays. A lot of options. And again, it looks like this because it's usually simmed this way. But I guess you can get the 3D view. Again, another football management game. A little bit more unique than the other ones. It is early access, $25, and it is relatively recently. Well, it is recent. It's only a year ago. 4th and Inches is it's just a port of an older game. QB Sim. Here's another VR thing. Released May 25th, or May of 2025. And it looks like it's just going to be a simulation of the quarterback experience. And I'm not sure why these keep cropping up. I think that one with the robots was a decent one, but not a huge fan of the VR thing. Hopefully we get to the bottom of the list here soon. So this is just a runner. It's not a football game. It just has some football assets in it. That's not even football. Yeah, so that looks to be like everything that's available under the title American Football on Steam in 2023. So there's definitely there's a handful of major games that are actually viable. There's a couple ones that are a little more obscure. And then there's some that are just dead that are no longer being developed. So out of the ones that are actively being developed, you have Football Simulator, you have Legend Bowl, and then you have Sunday Rivals. Those might be the top 3. And then Axis Football, of course, has been there since the beginning and is continuing to get better. But I think they want to be a sim football game. They want to be a sim football game, and that's gonna be tough with their current structure, I think. But they definitely deserve to be on the list. And then you have a handful of these simulator style games that, for some of them, are like a dime a dozen. Again, not to take away from what they've done. If you're making one, please make it. We need more. But as far as people that are looking for football games that have things that are unique or that are, have a certain lifespan, I think Action Card Football, that Football Solitaire was kind of interesting. Well, there's definitely a growing number of options. I think probably the biggest thing on the horizon, and we'll see how it turns out, is Maximum Football, the new one by Modus. And I think it's going to be the biggest budget, middle market football game that's going to try to be a simulation style football game. So we're going to see how that turns out, if it's going to be significantly better than, well, it already looks like it's going to be significantly better than the earlier maximum football games. So we're going to have to see how that turns out. But that's basically the state of football gaming in 2023. Some older titles, some newer ones. But we definitely have to keep an eye on this stuff, because if we don't highlight it, then people will never see it, and then people won't buy it, and then we're going to be stuck. We're going to be stuck complaining over and over, endlessly ad nauseum, about, where is it? Now I saw it. Did it disappear? We're going to be complaining endlessly about this guy right here. Okay? And that's a dead horse. I've gotten tired of it. You know, we need to move past criticizing this game, because if that's all we do, then that's not going to get us anywhere. So that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys got some kind of value out of this, and I will be seeing you guys in the next one.